RMJ Movie Reviews back again with, I'm sorry to be late, guys. A lot going on, with my first of my Halloween franchise movie reviews, heading all the way up to the new reboot coming out and Halloween horror movie review month. I'm going to begin lately, that is 10 days late into the month of October, with my review of, and I'm going backwards from top to bottom, Rob Zombie's Halloween from 2007, his remake, reboot, origin story. Interesting thing with Rob Zombie's remake. I guess I'll go in first by talking about Rob Zombie. Look, the Halloween franchise was pretty much dead in the water. To my understanding, I think either Resurrection, I don't know whether it was H2 or Resurrection, I think either one of those, or at least Resurrection, was supposed to go straight to video. It ended up making theatrically. H2O made great money. Resurrection kind of did okay, but everybody hated it. So the Halloween franchise was basically dead in the water. Rob Zombie had just had 2 films. He just had House of a Thousand Corpses, and he had the ghoulishly sick, depraved Devil's Rejects, which I love, which actually got some good critical reviews, namely Ebert and Robert gave it 2 thumbs up. So Rob Zombie was hot, and Dimension chose him to helm the new installment of a Halloween movie. Let me first just say, I was in college and I was working at a movie theater when this film was released, and me and a buddy of mine who was a film fanatic too, we went to go see the film, and I liked it. But then again, I'm a Michael Myers fanatic. Michael Myers is my favorite of the iconic 70s and 80s horror film characters. It'd be Myers, Jason, and Freddy are my favorites from that time, and Chucky and all of them kind of follow suit. But I liked the film. I really recognized it for its flaws. I never ever denied the flaws. But I love the character of Michael Myers so much, and the character of Dr. Loomis, and the character of Laurie, that I was just really into it. There was enough Michael Myers-esque, Halloween-esque in it for me to give the movie a pass. And I did, excuse me guys, I got something in my eye. And I did like the film. Not saying I thought it was good, but I liked it. I have not seen the film in quite a few years. It's just kind of been sitting in my DVD collection until I watched it last night. Upon rewatching it now, I don't like it as much as I did over the previous years. I still like it. I think kind of now, after watching it yesterday, I'm kind of more slowly sliding into the camp of people who, I don't hate it, but I just don't enjoy it like I did before. To choose Rob Zombie to remake Halloween, namely Halloween 1, which I wouldn't even really call this film a remake. I'd call it really more of a loose remake, but really it's more of an origin story in my eyes. At least it's 50% of it it's 50 origin story, 50 remake of John Carpenter's Halloween. First off, you're choosing 2 different filmmakers. You're choosing a filmmaker like Carpenter, who really sits back. And we talk about the way he did the original Halloween was there's a lot of steady cam work. Steady cam, the camera kind of floats, and it uses very wide camera angles. The music is slow, the pacing is slow, everything is relaxed about that first film because it's a slow burn. Now you choose Rob Zombie, who's a man who comes from the music world, and his music is very aggressive, very hard-hitting. He applies everything that he did in his music to his films. So you're going from a very quiet, steady, slow burn film, and a director who pretty much in nature is very relaxed like that, to someone like Rob Zombie, who is more aggressive, hard-hitting, in your face, fast. So maybe that was the intention of Dimension Films when they chose Rob Zombie, or whether they just liked Devil's Rejects so much they felt like he'd be he knows horror, so we should choose him. I'm not really sure they're thinking, but I think the mistake in choosing Rob Zombie is not because Rob Zombie is not good at what he does, but I think it's Rob Zombie's style does not fit Halloween. And now I can clearly see that in having not watched the film in quite a few years and really seeing now. Listen, guys, I'm not I'm not soft or anything like that, but I will say I thought the profanity was a little bit too much. And hey, look, you're talking about somebody. I love The Last Boy Scout. I love The Adventures of Ford Fairlane. I like these heavily profane movies, but I kind of felt here that it was a little bit too much. The part of the movie that I really had a struggle getting through upon watching it this time was the origin story of Michael. I think that's mistake number one. As John Carpenter has clearly pointed out, I don't know, you guys might be able to see this interview he did at New York Film Academy. Really good. About an hour interview they did with him, but kind of inside in the actor studio style. But we don't need to know about Michael Myers like that. Michael Myers, the intention of his character is not to know that much about him. We need to know just enough that he was a regular kid and he went off. That's all we need to know. And we don't really need to know why he went off. That's the beauty of Halloween. Halloween 78, that is. Now here, Myers comes from this very dysfunctional, abusive, just emotionally, and we're probably led to believe physically abusive household where the mother's a stripper. She's in this very dysfunctional, toxic relationship, which I assume maybe this is either her boyfriend. I assume he's a boyfriend played by the great William Forsythe, and he's basically. He's awful. Matter of fact, they should all be locked up, I think, except for the kid. Myers is the last one who should be locked up. But, basically in his spare time, Myers is killing animals and collecting dead dogs in his backpack, and he's being picked on at school where, the issue I kind of have sometimes, and I like Rob Zombie's style, the issue I have sometimes is that with all the profanity, and in that first act, I can't remember which one of the. I think it was Drum. I think that's a gentleman's channel. I really like that guy. I just got hip to his channel. But like him, and maybe it's because I'm getting older, I was really kind of taken aback this time with the origin story because, I'm saying within 3 to 5 minutes, I think that's probably the entire runtime of all the profanity in The Last Boy Scout. It's just, I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to snorkel on your tits, and maybe I'll flap off to them, and your son's a little B-word. This is like 5 minutes in, and the movie's about an hour and 55 minutes, so it's like, good Lord. And I was taken aback by it this time. I just felt it was too much. And the issue I kind of have sometimes with Rob Zombie's characters is they all tend to feel like the same character. They're all profane and grotesque. I will give it that this time, when you brought in Malcolm McDowell, who was a great choice to play Dr. Loomis, because I honestly don't know else who could have filled in Donald Pleasance's shoes. I don't know. But it actually, Malcolm McDowell said he did know Donald Pleasance from back in the day. He did know Donald Pleasance, he said, which is really cool, too. But he was a great replacement. But he really is the only character that has some warmth and some tenderness in this film. And I will say, once you get past the kind of the home life and the profanity, and also too, everything. This movie is the complete. I think the word is antithesis. It's just a total opposite of Carpenter's original. Everything is turned up to level 100. The violence. So when Myers kills people in this thing, we're not talking about he just simply just goes up and they're dead. In the original film, he just killed the sister. That was it. In this one, he slits the stepfather's throat after he duct tapes him. He kills the boyfriend with an aluminum bat, bashes his brains in. I mean, no, he doesn't just hit him once. He bashes his skull in. He stabs his sister once, slightly molests her a little bit. And I'll get into that too, the sexual depravity in this film too, in this version, because this is not the theatrical version. This is the unrated director's cut. But he slices her all up. So it's very it's brutal. It's very brutal. And not to mention, he had already committed a murder of the bully previous to this murder. So he was pretty much already on a roll. I mean, So, and they're all horrifically gory deaths. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying what it is in terms of the style of the filmmaking. So it's just all amped up. It's so amped up, But that first act is very just, I don't know, it's pretty typical serial killer stuff. It doesn't particularly bring anything new that we haven't seen before about serial killers. So I was kind of disappointed in that. And again, we don't need to know that much about Michael Myers. I have a hard time believing that this little grunge Kiss t-shirt wearing kid transforms into the Michael Myers we know. But then again, this is in Rob Zombie's world. Now, where the film for me this time around started to get interesting is why he's in the psychiatric clinic and he's talking with Dr. Loomis. Now, I think those scenes are really well done, and I genuinely mean I think those scenes are very well done. I like the interplay between Malcolm McDowell and the kid. I think there really is and I really admit a genuine warmth there, and I think there's one scene I like where Malcolm McDowell goes to the kid, ask me anything you like, and he goes, why do you talk so funny? And talking about Malcolm McDowell's accent. And now in a Rob Zombie film, I felt that was a very tender, sweet moment. I genuinely thought that was sweet, and I liked that scene. All those scenes I like. And when it was just kind of quiet and the movie just took a minute to just breathe and relax in this version, I really started to enjoy it. But then we had to throw in another Rob Zombie character, which is the nurse who goes, "Oh, little sister's cute, unlike you." And it's just like, and in that moment, so then he prison styles sticks her in the neck with a spoon, and it had to go back to the screaming and the yelling and there's this siren thing that's in a lot of his movies. I think it was The Devil's Rejects. It's very subtle, you can't hear it, but it's just like, stop, slow it down. It doesn't have to be so much, And then there's a really good scene I thought too with Sherry Moon Zombie, which I think is some of her strongest acting work that I've seen, and you all, but it's a scene where she commits suicide. I really like that scene. I think that's a really, really cool scene. So then we're past that section, and then we're basically going into, which is the last, I think, 50 minutes of the movie, which is basically just like a really quick, redone, fast version of John Carpenter's original film. Problem with this section of the film is it's just too quick. It's just entirely too quick. It's just bam, 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 bam. Everything, it's just a truncated, shorter version of the hour and 25-minute movie from 1978. And again, I just take issue with all the characters feel the same, except for Malcolm McDowell. He's the only character that feels different. And I'll probably say young Michael Myers. They're the only characters that feel different from everyone else in the film. Of course, we have the typical, Rob Zombie brings back his cast of character exploitation horror actors, which is great. Clint Howard shows up. I think the guy Udo Kurg, I can't remember his name. You guys know what I'm talking about. The guy with the steely eyes who plays. He always plays evil characters. Danny Trejo pops up. Lou Temple pops up. Ken Foray, all those guys show up, and it's fun to see them. In the theatrical version, Bill Moseley pops up, and Leslie Easterbrook from Police Academy pops up. Leslie Easterbrook, who really, I'm gonna do Devil's Rejects. I'm gonna talk about that later. But, oof, man. So anyway, they all pop up. Oh, I forgot. Danielle Harris is in this too. She was trying to get back into the Halloween franchise for like a minute because they played her on Halloween 6, and she got a chance to get back in to play Annie in this version. Um, but I'm not going to go into plot details. It's a truncated, quicker version, bloodier version of John Carpenter's original, The Last 50 Minutes. I forgot D. Wallace Stone pops up in it too. Now, I'm going to go into the good, what I really like about the film. What I will say is, number one, Malcolm McDowell, he's the best thing about the movie. One thing that I think people are not giving enough credit for Rob Zombie is I just love the way the visual look of his movie. The visuals in this thing, I really, and that's one thing that I've seen about in the previews of this new film. I'm not crazy about the color scheme of this film, but the color scheme in this movie is fantastic. When it gets to the redone version of Carpenter's original, the green, there's like a lot of greens and kind of muddyish colors, and there's a lot of good stuff of Myers sitting back in the shadows. There's one particular shot where Tyler Mane is kind of standing in one spot and Annie's car pulls up, and it's the way it's lit, it's beautiful. I love the look. There's a scene before Myers goes in and kills Laurie's parents where they're on the front steps. I love the visual color look of it. The look of the Myers house in this film, where he's chasing Laurie by the pool, great. The lighting where he kills Annie and her boyfriend, the lighting is great. The color scheme, it's fantastic. Tyler Bates' score, I love his score in this movie. It is fantastic. I love it. That is good stuff. The visual look, the music, Malcolm McDowell. Oh, and I forgot Brad Dourif, Chucky himself. He's really good in the film too. He's very solid. He doesn't come in until the last 50 minutes. He's Sheriff Brackett, but he's very solid. The scenes between him and Malcolm McDowell, good stuff. Great, because you got two veterans. It's really great. That's about the most what I like about the film. And I will say that's probably the most enjoyable part of the film to me, is the stuff in the psychiatric clinic and the stuff when it turns into the Michael Myers we know. And I love Myers' look in this film, the grimy dirt. He's got all this blood and dirt, and his mask is like rotted. I don't like the extent they took it to in the second film, but I love the fact that his mechanic outfit is dirty. And the fact that Tyler Mane took it from Ken Foray is, in their fight scene, it's a little bit too much, but you're already dealing with a film that's already, everything is just here, you know. But their fight scene together is great, and you guys got to watch the behind the scenes of it. I don't know if it was really true. I think Ken Foray and why am I forgetting his name? You got Tyler Mane. I think they got into it a little bit for real, to my understanding. I could be wrong, but you guys know, anybody who's ever acted before, you know sometimes that when you're doing really intense moments and intense characters, that sometimes you know you get a little bit too much into the moment. That happens. So, but I just thought that was a perfect choice for Michael Myers to steal his outfit from. That was great. And there really is some cool stuff with the camera work that calls back to Carpenter's original. A lot of those really, and those are the scenes I like, when the camera is pulled back. I think there's a scene where little Michael Myers is watching the bully walk away, and you know, again, the shoulder in the foreground and the kids in the background, long takes. I love those shots. There's another shot that I really like, is where Annie, Laurie, and I can't remember the other friend's name. The three of them were like, "Hey freak, you like the young stuff?" And he's like here, and they're all the way. And then you just kind of see him walk away. That's really cool. I think those are nice little touches that call back to Carpenter's original, and that's a part of Halloween. That is a part of the essence of Halloween, are those kind of camera angles and stuff. And I think Rob Zombie was in a struggle of doing the Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, profanity, doing it the way he does it, and kind of morphing his style into Carpenter's original film. I think that's the tug of war. It's a schizophrenic film. I know there were some YouTubers that pointed out a couple years ago that the focus tends to kind of jump around. Like 1 minute you're with little Michael Myers, then you get a really cool scene at the lecture hall with Dr. Loomis where he goes, "These eyes will deceive you. Those are the eyes of a psychopath." I love that scene. That scene is I love that scene. I love that scene. It was great. But then it jumps to Laurie's, and it just kind of just jumps around all over the place. And then kind of towards the end, it's pretty evident there was a lot of reshoots. There's little mistakes. There's shots where you can see people in the background, and then they turn around and they're gone. So there's little editorial kind of mistakes. But I think Rob Zombie was called in last minute on the behind-the-scenes features to do some more reshooting and touch-up. So I think at this point, Rob Zombie was really, at least the impression I got from watching the special features, that he was not very happy. I think, and I don't really particularly know if Rob Zombie is the greatest fan of I know he's a horror fanatic, and he really respects a lot of the horror films from the 70s. That's his stuff. He loves the 70s stuff. I've seen him talk about it in interviews. I'm not particularly sure if he's really the greatest fan of the original Halloween. I kind of catch a little bit of shade, little bit of knocks that he throws at it a little bit. But then again, that could just be Rob, because Rob's a very laid back kind of. He is what it is. Rob Zombie just rolls how he rolls. So I don't know. Maybe that's just him. But I kind of don't get the impression that he thinks the highest like everybody else does of the original Halloween. But and then to boot, you got to throw in a little bit of sexual depravity. In this version, if you all have seen it, instead of Michael Myers being shackled and he kills Leslie Easterbrook and Bill Moseley, in this version, Lou Temple and old boy who was in all the '80s movies with the freckles and the red hair. I can't remember the actors. Courtney. I can't remember his last name, but he was in Back to the Future, Colors, and he was in all the great '80s movies. They decide to take a patient and rape her, and they don't want to rape her in her own room. They want to rape her in Myers' room. So. It's a very ugly, nasty scene. Again, this goes back to Zombie style and trying to fit into Carpenter's idea. I just don't think it was necessary. Now, when you watch a film like Devil's Rejects and Bill Moseley, sexually abuses the mom in front of the family, that lent itself to that film, because Devil's Rejects was hardcore raw, it was nasty, it was depraved. That was just the general tone of that. That's what that movie was. To me, Halloween is not that. So I think it was a wise choice for the theatrical version to take that scene out, because I think that Halloween is a franchise now. It's for general audiences. So I think you really would have lost a lot of people if you would have kept that scene in the theatrical version. So I think it was smart that they changed it. For me, I'm an adventurous film watcher, so I can, I've seen Irreversible, I've seen the original Hills Have Eyes, Extremities with Farrah Fawcett. I've seen my share of films that have very intense, graphic sexual assault and rape, and I give those actors a lot of credit for being brave enough, particularly the females, to be brave enough to go there, because it's not comfortable to watch, and Lord only imagine how it feels. I think I heard Linda Blair talk about. I think she made a TV movie in the 70s or it was the early 80s where she was like in a detention home or something, and they had to film a rape scene in there. And I think I remember Linda Blair talking about how it was traumatic to be in a position where a bunch of people are restraining you and you're screaming and hollering and they're like, get her, get her, get her. I think she said it really bothered her for real. And I think, I believe the actor Ned Beatty, who, did the homosexual rape scene in Deliverance, I believe he had mentioned that that he felt like almost like a real rape victim. So, again, it's unpleasant to watch, and I think probably to an extent it does carry some level of trauma to the actors. I think so. Depending on you could disconnect, some can, but I just think the scene. Although I listened to the commentary, Rob Zombie made a very valid point in that these things do go on in these facilities. I understand that. I just think maybe the way that he shot it and the level he wanted to bring it to did not lend itself to a Halloween movie, and I think it was unnecessary. And I just think that it was a good idea that they took it out. I felt it was too much, But it is cool to see what Rob Zombie's original idea was. I went a little bit too on and on about that scene. But again, I think that's the biggest issue with the picture. The biggest issue with the picture is that it's trying to adapt Rob Zombie's style to Carpenter's style, and they're two opposites of the spectrum, and they just don't lend itself. And you're revealing too much about Myers, so I think it was just a hodgepodge of ideas that kind of just got scattered and was everywhere. And it's a wacky, nutty movie. It's entertaining, but it's a wacky movie. As far as things making sense in the story, it's about as far as you can make sense out of something like a movie like this. Really, even the movie doesn't particularly follow any rules. It doesn't. Tyler Mane, I think is very good, and I think it was a cool little twist to make him this big giant ogre-esque Myers. It was a cool little twist, but this is Rob Zombie's Michael Myers. But again, you don't really get the sense that he's the boogeyman or he's, there's no creep factor here. It's pretty much just all in your face, brutal, sexual depravity, women being murdered completely in the nude. Not that their bodies look great, because I think their bodies look very good. It's just the style of this grindhouse thing doesn't fit Carpenter's original. But I mean, it's fun. The psychiatry scene in Up, the stuff in the psych hospital in Up, I really enjoyed. But the stuff with young Michael Myers, that entire section to me, I was really tempted to fast forward through it. I had trouble getting through it. So all that to say, I just think it's a schizophrenic, nutty movie. Is it bad? I wouldn't nearly go so safe to say it's bad. I just think Rob Zombie was a work for hire, and I think he just was having a difficult time between giving the studio what they wanted and doing what he wanted, and this is what it turned out to be. So, if you guys like Rob Zombie's film, namely The Devil's Rejects, I think you'll probably like this film. If you're a very true Halloween fan, meaning to John Carpenter's 78 film, the 78 film, and that's it, you'll probably hate this movie. So anyway, that's my long-winded review of Rob Zombie's Halloween. Thumbs up the video, subscribe to the channel, share the video, leave comments down below, ring-a-ling-ding-ding, don't forget to hit the little bell, and leave your comments about what you think of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007. I'm going to be back with my review of Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 from 2009. And I'm going to come with my Halloween movie review of Chud, RMJ Movie Reviews. I'll see you soon.